So with the Jade Shadows update, we received a new helmet ability called Ophanum Eyes. Ophanum Eyes is basically a conal AoE in front of you, kind of like a gaze, where if you're staring at the enemy that is in front of you, they will not only be slowed down, but have their armor stripped and take damage. And one of the most popular setups to use for Banshee players is Gloom. Banshee has always had a bit of sketchy survivability and kind of relies on shield gate for most builds nowadays, but having a radio or AoE slow helps mitigate any damage coming your way, or at least the DPS. But after trying this ability on Banshee, not only did I learn that you can hit the weak spots with the gaze, so you get some really nice supported tick damage over time, as well as the benefits from the slow AoE, but you also get some really solid armor stripping, which means you don't have to use the first ability with its augment. In the run that you're seeing in today's video, I was testing out a certain build to see how well Banshee would perform over time during a run like this, and I came out of it kind of satisfied, but also realizing I could have made some significant changes to the build. And I will be honest, I'm kind of a Banshee noob. I'm sort of new to this Warframe. I didn't really play her too much in the past. So the build I'm going to show you guys today is actually way better than the one you're seeing in the background right now. Two major things changed. I dropped a little bit of strength for rolling guard, spamming shield gating to get closer to my enemies at high level. It is effective, but at the same time I find it a bit annoying. So being able to roll every now and again to get closer to my enemies and actually attack was something that I really wanted. And also got rid of a bit of duration and replaced it for Savage Silence. I was unaware as to how this ability worked with and without the augment. In case you don't know, Silence at base doesn't actually put enemies into finishes or give you any stealth multipliers, but it will turn off Eximus abilities. It may not look like it does because it doesn't stun Eximus with or without the augment, but it does turn them off. But then when you throw on the Savage Silence augment, the initial stun will not only allow you to perform finishes, but it will give you the bonus stealth damage as enemies are considered to be within stealth multipliers or unaware of your existence. And this damage bonus upon meleeing is actually kind of nice because it makes up for the fact that I dropped some strength off of the build. And with these changes to the setup, I actually think the Banshee is kind of way more fun than I initially thought. At first I wasn't really enjoying the playstyle, the fact that she just sort of runs around and debuffs everything. But after perfecting this build, I can't lie, I actually really enjoy this frame now. Banshee is obviously not a super popular Warframe, and I think the main reason is that in order for her to really have any sort of top tier role or be really good at her job, she needs actually quite a bit of setup. You need a really solid build that's often quite needy in its niches. She wants very specific helmets and survivability. Another thing that she also really wants is Archon shards for casting speed. And she also really wants augments. Don't get me wrong, I think augments are fun, but when they feel sort of necessary, it makes them band-aids and takes away from the original frame. The augment resonance is an absolute must-have, and Savage Silence makes her third ability way more versatile. And her 1 is really only useful as a sort of mild CC and I guess a shield gate ability when you haven't got its augment on. So once you combine all of these elements together and you actually do put a bit of investment into Banshee, what do you have? You have a very squishy Warframe that really wants to rely on shield gating to survive. There are some setups that I would like to cover in different videos that involve niche and different types of survivability. I know not everyone likes shield gating. Trust me, there are some ways you can make it work. It's just for the most part, Banshee is known for being kind of a glass cannon. But she has some solid CC and the strongest damage debuff in the game. This has always been Banshee's main selling point. Her second ability with its augment resonance. If you're spamming this on a regular basis, not only is it going to keep you alive with something like Brief Respite, but it presents massive weak spots on enemies that can be stacked on top of each other. And this is one of the frames you're probably going to be able to hit damage cap with the easiest. You could subsume off her 1 or her 4. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of the 4th ability. I don't feel like it synergizes with her kit, and that's definitely where I'd put probably most of the effort into reworking her kit. If you're going to rework Banshee, I would definitely make her 3 recastable and then make massive adjustments to the 1 and the 4. So what is the important interaction between Ophanum Eyes and Banshee's kit? Well, one of the reasons you want to use Gloom on Banshee is that because it slows enemies down, and you're not using too much range on your 3, when you get within distance, that stun animation will actually be prolonged even further due to enemies being slowed down. So it prolongs your survivability in CC, as well as the stealth multipliers if you are using the augment. And Ophanum Eyes is really making you even more powerful because it's stripping the enemy's armor at the same time. So yeah, I'd make the argument that Banshee is quite a bit better with this update, just purely because you have now what I would consider a way better version of the Gloom build. And me personally, I've just never really enjoyed the playstyle of using the augment for your first ability and then spamming it everywhere just for an armor strip. Having the passive armor strip from your 4 just by looking in an enemy's direction, that's a level of convenience that not many abilities in the game have to offer that at least you could throw on Banshee. Anyway, now it's probably time to move on to the builds. We are using Brief Respite or Aura for shield gating, Prime Sure Footed so we can play the game, Rolling Guard for the extra survivability and uptime, and of course catalyzing shields for better shield gating, prime flow, equilibrium and arcane energize for our energy economy, prime continuity for our duration and to offset some of the negative duration from our power strength, which is coming from transient fortitude, and then of course our 2 augments, resonance and savage silence. Our augmented isn't super needed, but it is a nice strength buff. A really good alternative to either of these would actually be arcane trickery. Arcane Trickery allows you to go invisible upon a finisher, but it isn't super consistent. Me personally, I don't really like playing invisible Warframes because I get a little bit bored, but it is an extremely effective setup. In case you don't know, this weapon actually has somewhat of a similar effect to Arcane Trickery. When you do a finisher, you will go invisible. However, once you attack or cast an ability, for example, that invisibility will break. This is very useful for reviving teammates, but not much else past that. Using a melee influence build here, Voltaic Strike being the way to proc it, and you could forego Viral for blast damage. For me personally, I still enjoy using Viral as it combines well with the slash. I was also one-tricking the best secondary in the game, that being the dual Toxicist, and other than the build on here in which I was using blast damage, I was also running secondary dexterity so I could get extra combo duration for my melee weapon. And here are the Incarnate evolutions that I was using. Madurai once again was my focus school, as I like using it for bonus casting speed and strength from Sling Strength and Power Transfer. And on my Nautilus, I was combining Manifold Bond with Seismic Bond for energy efficiency, and then Synth Deconstruct so I could get more health, thus proccing Equilibrium. So, how does the Warframe play? Realistically, you want to keep your third ability Silence active at all times. This way you're going to run into rooms and everything's going to be stunned, and you're also keeping your 4 active as well, meaning that stun lasts longer and you're constantly stripping enemies' armor that you are looking at. And of course, by the gameplay you can also see the tick damage is pretty good, but this tick damage is being made much stronger in this run because my teammate is running an Ember and buffing my fire damage. So hopefully that explains why the ticks look so high, because Ophanum Eyes actually does innate heat. Anyway, we're really only using R1 to use shield gating, that way I can spam it and stay alive and, you know, push enemies away if needed. But we're mainly spamming our second ability with the Augment Resonance to put the weak spots on every enemy in the area, and of course this is also going to naturally shield gate as well. You want to be casting your abilities a lot to stay alive so you don't get one-shotted, but the build is more than capable energy wise to do this. And I will say, if there's a frame that I personally love having on my team more than any other, Banshee is probably at the top of the list. Early on during this run I felt a bit bored, but gradually as it went along and I realised that I was still absolutely shredding enemies no matter what level they were going to. And she can do this at level cap, by the way. I mean, level 1000 is basically nothing for her. But yeah, your teammates are going to absolutely love you if you run this build, and I highly recommend you give it a go. I'm going to leave you guys with a few more minutes of the gameplay, and then of course I'm going to show you the fashion frame that was showed off within this video. I appreciate all the support. I don't know whether I mentioned it on this channel yet, but this channel was officially monetized now, so thank you guys for that. And due to that, uploads will be more consistent over here now. I'm trying to get a video out every few days. I'm going to do a lot of builds like this, as well as some really unique helmet setups. But I also want to do some other content here and there, especially the versus video like we did with Apex Revenant versus Warframe Revenant. We will be doing more of that stuff soon, taking some of our favourite pop culture and video game characters and pitting them up against Warframes. We may even do Warframes versus Warframes as to who would win in a fight. I know, I've got hell ideas and we're going to space them out correctly. So make sure you guys are liking and subbing. And also be sure to follow me on Twitch. If you ever want to see me theory crafting builds or doing these long survivals live, that is where you'll find me. Appreciate you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh my god, look at our kills. What the fuck? Look at our total kills.
Get shit on.
Okay. That's insane. What? Literally, like, to be within the same 100 is nuts.
Yeah, dude. We were right there. We were neck and neck, bro.